Welcome again at Going In It Alone. Someone asked me today, did you like Sex in the City? I looked down and said, I'm a man. No. Someone asked me if I like Batman today. I looked at them and said, I'm a guy. Yeah. But has anyone ever asked the great question of the world? Would you like it if you took Sex in the City and you took Batman and you put them together? No, because that's a fucking terrible idea. And that's what DC gave us with the Killing Joke. The DC movies last year. And I count this as a movie because I saw it in the movie theaters. Jesus Christ. If I can say one thing, this is easily the worst of the 3 movies that came out in 2016 by Disney. And by DC. And that's fucking saying something. God damn it. With the bullshit you put us through in movie theaters, I should be able to write this shit off as on my tax returns. Ugh. Anyway, so let's get to the Killing Joke. Not gonna lie, let's get this straight off the bat. Wasn't a fan of the comic book. Actually, I'm not even a fan of Frank Miller. I think he's totally overrated. I think other than V for Vendetta, his stuff is dark for no reason. Watchmen was totally convoluted and made no friggin' sense. Both versions, the comic and the movie. We'll get to that at another date, though. But this movie is... I didn't like the comic book. I thought it had no structure. It was just a reason to get the Joker origin story out the way. And actually, his flashbacks are the best part of the movie. Everything else, pure nonsense. Wasn't fun. Not a fan of the artwork. Wasn't a fan of the story. It wasn't dark. I don't care what anyone says. The only good idea, thankfully, gave us Dark Knight. And actually an interesting bit in Batman Beyond: The Return of the Joker. See the connection. See the connection. Alright, the story of this movie is, well, it's kind of hard to describe the movie because it's 2 movies. Actually, it's a TV show and a special edition TV show. In that, the first 28 minutes of the movie is a Batgirl movie. It's about how she's trying to capture this villain. Batman's trying to tell her no. And she goes anyway. And eventually something happens. Not going to spoil it for you. Well, no one cares anyway. And they meet a ridiculously named character called Paris France. As soon as that joke happened, you should have knew what you were in for. So eventually Batgirl leaves Batman because of what happens in this story. And then the Killing Joke happens. And even if you didn't think the Paris France joke was enough reason not to watch this film, it starts off with narration. Narration that says, this is not how you thought this movie was going to start. That should be your first sign to fucking run. And then after that 30 minutes of absolute atrocity, we actually get the Killing Joke. And it kind of goes off exactly like the comic does. Except it adds in a musical that actually isn't terrible, but still not good. And then it's all about Joker proving to Batman that it just takes one day, one bad day, and anyone can snap. And then that's pretty much the movie without ruining the plot points, even though most of us have seen the movie or read the comic book. Alright, so that's the story. Where do we go with this absolute clusterfuck of an animated movie? Well, let's start with the prime objective, Batgirl. She's terrible. She's completely not likable in the first half of the movie. And it kind of didn't make any sense. I don't know what they attempted to do with Batgirl in this movie. or in the first quarter of it, but it was not good. She came off as completely an unlikable character. She made absolutely all the stupid decisions, and she just came off as a complete idiot. And my belief is they did that so that you feel sorry for her when what happens to her in The Killing Joke. I mean, the act itself, what happens at the beginning of The Killing Joke, is terrible. It's horrifying, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care. She was a bitch. She was an idiot, and that drugged this story down a whole lot. She made complete idiotic moves. She had no friggin' idea of what her relationship to Batman was, so it was worsened by that. So I didn't get it. And then, I don't know who thought this was funny, but there's a character in her segment, which is totally Sex in the City, like, that is the gay affiliate of blackface. Oh my God, can you hit me in the face harder that he's gay, with lines like, "Oh, and I thought the gay scene was so hard. Oh, what you need to do is go." Oh. It's bad. Whoever wrote this obviously doesn't have any gay friends, and probably is homophobic, and he should get looked into that. Then we get to Batman. Batman looks like the biggest idiot in the first half for falling for Barbara's crap. And then when he doesn't want to be associated with her, he makes a comment about falling into the abyss with no rhyme or reason, with no speech of how it came about, or no explanation to her other than, "You don't want to stand into the abyss." Can you give me context, Batman? I guess not. So that was Batman. Let's go to the good of this movie. The only good thing I liked about this movie is the Joker flashbacks. The Joker flashbacks were done much like it was in the comic book. It is kind of a fun story, and it's kind of interesting to see how he became the way he was. I'm not gonna lie. Some of it is kind of dumb, but it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good storytelling, and when you get what happens, what his whole story is about is everyone can crack one bad day. You know, it kind of works. Everything else really doesn't. And this is the part where I get to the bad part. And before I get to the bad parts, though, and this is a segue into the bad parts. The quote of the movie is said by Batman early on, when he's telling Barbara, Batgirl, to stay away from her, that guy. He makes a comment going, "He just sees you as a he's just using you and being misogynistic." That's exactly what this movie does to Barbara Gordon and Batgirl. Think about that for a while. The bad of this movie. Let's start with the easy parts. First part and the second part, or the first act and the last two acts, don't go together in any way, shape, or form. Terrible. Awful. They feel like you took a 22-minute cartoon that was bad and stuck it together with an hour-long special, and you said, voila! It was that bad. The animation, and remember, I'm judging this on the fact that I saw it in the theater, is nowhere near theater level animation. While I understand what they were trying to do and keep in context with the original comic book, to see it on the big screen, it looked pretty terrible. And it didn't even look like up to Batman the Animated Series level of animation. That show came out over 2 decades ago. Not a good way to start, people. The story's obviously a mess. And then when you get down to it, the whole thing is Joker kidnaps Gordon and tries to make him go crazy and show that, someone can go crazy one bad day. Problem is, what he does isn't strong enough. To me, the only thing, he does shoot. Yes, he does the act in front of him. And he does show him pictures of Barbara after it. But that's about it. And that's supposed to crack you? I guess it can, but in the context of the movie, it really doesn't work. And it's not done efficiently enough. About the only good thing I liked about it was the musical number that the Joker did. It was pretty funny. So I enjoyed that at least. The last scene of the movie, I will give the comic book credit. It did it better than in this movie, where this movie did it and it stopped at a certain point where it shouldn't have. It should continue longer. And this is kind of hard to talk about without spoiling it, but it wasn't done well at all. So you have a poorly structured movie, acts that don't connect in the least bit. You have characters who are supposed to be sympathized for yet are completely freaking idiots. And you don't sympathize with them, you just look at them and say, you're an idiot. You have the dejustification of Batman, making him look like an idiot for falling for this stuff. You have a story that is not interesting in the least bit and not as dark. So this gives you a bad movie. And one more thing before I give the rating for this movie, I'll tell you about the rating for this movie. This movie's rated R. I can't see for what reason. None. This is the softest R-rated movie I've ever seen, I think. There's no reason for this. I thought Batman Assault on Arkham was way more rated R than this cheap thing. They said one curse word, one bitch. And in comparison, look at a PG-13 movie like Casper. They had 3 curse words. So this is the level you're comparing yourself to. There were like 3 headshots, but they were tame. There was a little blood, but it was all like matte painted, or it was just stains on people's shirts. There wasn't a lot of blood flow. No reason for an R. This is a PG-13 at best. Yeah, PG-13. That's it. Actually, no, rated X, because no one should see this garbage. Batman killing joke, absolutely rated a 1. That's it. A 1. Just for the Joker scene. The flashback Joker scenes, even at that. Everything else is poorly animated. And it's awful. The only thing is, I'd like to thank the DC Universe and Warner Brothers for giving me 3 of the worst movies of 2016. And this is by far the crowning achievement of ass. That's it. Nothing else to say. So until next time, see you at the movies.